There you go.
Well, good morning, folks. Michael and Israel here again with another Tech Tuesday. Sorry we missed last week. We were getting prepped for Fish Fest and did a live with Tracy Robinson here locally. Unfortunately, we were stuck in the studio instead of out on a boat. But thank you to all of you that came to Fish Fest. If fishing and how to catch fish is something that might be of interest to you, then check out. We live stream the seminars from this past weekend. But pretty good turnout for a snow day in Alabama, I'd say.
Yeah. Tim was here.
Yeah, Tim, thanks for coming over. Always good to see.
We had a
Tim.
good long conversation. So.
Well, that's good. Well, hopefully he saved a question or two for today. But guys, drop a question in the comments. I pulled a few. There are a few basic ones that probably this time of year I think are basics good for some folks. But we'll try to do whatever we can to get you an answer. Let's see here. All right. So as always, if you are watching on a shared post. So if the post is shared into a group or something like that, then you need to actually click into ours and put your question in the comment on our actual this live stream so that we can see it. Otherwise, we will not see it. All right, let's kick it off. Well, first I'm gonna, because this was true. Fish Fest was great. Thank you.
Yep.
It was better because you were there, Timmy. I'm just saying.
Absolutely, yeah.
Next year we're gonna throw Timmy on one of the panels.
Mm-hmm.
We'll let him do one of the Q&A panels for fishing, how to catch fish on Neely. I see some. He got out there Sunday and caught some.
Yeah.
All right, Justin. Let's move that up. Do you think toggler bolts will work mounting on a trolling motor?
Well, you got to make sure I know what you're talking about. Okay. See, I had to look that up just to be sure. Okay, so those are probably. My first inclination is no. For more than one reason, so I've seen people put nutserts in and use nutserts.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen them use the motor guide rubber things, and they work a little bit, but if you get in rough water and stuff, things tend to come loose. So toggler bolts looks like more of a building supply, and they're probably zinc coated or something like that. I doubt you can find stainless ones. That'd be one of my concerns with one of those. The other thing is anytime you don't have something on, like when you really need to put structure underneath the fiberglass.
Okay.
Of when you're doing a trolling motor, because that thing's at the very front, and so it's going to get the biggest bang.
Right.
Where the fulcrum is of that boat. So I like to I really like to put rubber in between if it's possible, and then a good thick fender washer on the bottom, and brass nuts. And I say brass nuts because if you ever have to take it off, stainless on stainless usually seizes up on the way back out. So.
All right. Well, Tim, Ultrex question. Seems as if the trolling motor lost some power. As if 3 used to work a certain speed, now I have to use 5 to get the same power. I installed new batteries and no change. Any ideas?
Yeah, it could be a board going bad. I've seen some, or a burnt connection. Could be the armature of the trolling motor. After they get a little time on them, things start going south. So, my first inclination is you may have either bad board or worn out brushes. You could have water in the foot of the where the brushes are. That usually changes things drastically. So I would, next time you bring it in, I would definitely, get that looked at.
Okay.
So.
And looks like a follow-up from Justin. Gotcha. Do nut inserts.
I wouldn't do the nut insert. I just know people have done those.
Gotcha.
And they can work themselves out, and your trolling motor would just be in the river. So my advice is to do the actual fender washers on the bottom and brass nuts.
Okay.
That's your best bet. And I know sometimes it's really hard to get to those areas. We struggle. So you can, if you can get to 5 of them, you can't get to the 6th one or the last
Right.
one, the 6th one, then you can do something like that with it for a little bit more security.
Or find a really tall friend with really long, skinny arms.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Timmy. Bring it by to have it checked out. I'd like to know what's going on. All right. Well, I'm going to go to one of my questions that I found. It's a prop question. Basically, he's got a T2 25P on a ZX225 that is starting to show some cracks. He's asking what's a good reliable replacement. He's not wanting to get the highest performance, but a good reliable replacement prop on that show on the Skeeter.
So far, the T2, that SHO 25 seems to be probably the best overall running prop. If you can't find a prop, which I know it's really hard these days to find one, my alternative usually is Tempest Plus, 25 Tempest Plus, or Fury. But I like the Tempest Plus because it's got a little bit more bow lift.
Have we seen any issues out of the T2s in terms of
cracks
and
yeah,
stuff?
Yeah, but we're seeing it across the board. It's not just the Yamaha T2. It's the FXP, the TPX or TXP, the Fury and the Tempest. They're all suffering the same issues because they all having similar run patterns. You got a jack plate that's jacked all the way up and you're running high RPMs all the time. So the more you flex his ears on the prop, the more likely they are to have stress cracks and break. But I would tell everybody to be sure you're keeping an eye on your prop. Just take a flashlight, look at it real quick, before you go in the water, and just see if you've got a cracked ear because you can usually see it.
Okay.
If you take it out and you don't pay attention to that stuff, it'll end up breaking off and tearing the cavitation plate up or something, and typically going to have a bent prop shaft afterwards. So.
All right. Tim, thanks for advice on 2-liter bottle with top cut off around my fuel filter. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you managed to get the fuel filter changed without getting gas all over the
there
place.
You go. Yeah.
Well, I guess you'd learn a thing or two after doing it a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You've changed a few fuel filters.
Yeah, I had this special little cup I used. It was I can't remember. It was off a spray bottle that I always used with them to take them off.
All right. So here's another one. I'm sure some guys will relate. Bought a new to him Yamaha. Bought it used last summer from a guy who had the service records indicating new oil filter, oil and fluids. So basically, had a fresh service. Went fishing quite a bit. He's got it's a 60 horse 2013 tiller. Should he get or what type of service does he need to do now as he gets ready for next season? He's new to Yamaha, so just
okay. Well, my recommendation for any 4-stroke is to once a year change the oil in it, whether you need it or not. Because we can see stuff that's happening to the motor by looking at the oil. The oil is but and the gear oil is probably a real important part of that too, because sometimes you get water in it and you don't know it, and unless you're checking it on a regular basis, we usually see that in the service. If there's any inconsistencies with the engine, we can look at the oil and find out if it's running rich, If it's got too much moisture in it, figuring out why it has moisture in it, and then a lot of people don't realize, but oil degrades over time. So it's good to go ahead and change it out. Every at least once a year, if not every 6 months. So.
Okay. Anything specific? So he's got power trim and tilt on the tiller handle.
With it, you just need to keep an eye on it. It's not something we just go and change the fluid in unless it's got a problem. The fluid, unless it's 10 years old or something, 20 years old, we can usually inspect it and see if it's got a lot of wear in it. And if it does, that'd be a good time to decide whether you want to change it or not. So filters, real important. The gas is worse than it's ever been, and expensive as it's ever been, but worse as it's ever been. And then so with that, they're putting more microns, in the filters. Yep. The filters are a lot. They strain out a lot more materials now, and so which means they stop up a lot faster too. So I recommend doing filters at least once a year. And I like to do the water pumps at least every 2 years. And some people, I know people that put 100 to 150 hours a year on their engines. So those type of runners, you need to go ahead and do a water pump once a year.
Gotcha.
Especially if you're shallow fishermen, because they get in there deep and start sucking up rocks. And water pumps, they wear out a lot faster when you put debris in them.
You don't say.
Yeah.
So, who'd have thunk it?
Yeah, I had a guy a couple weeks ago come in and complaining that he's had an alarm and didn't think we changed the water pump, but I looked at the back of the boat and there was piles of gravel actually in his splash well.
Yeah.
Like, hey, come over here, I'm gonna show you something. See all that stuff down there? He said, yeah. I said, that's gonna mess your water pump up. So I went ahead and was nice and covered it for him and told him, I said, next time you're gonna have to pay for it.
Oof.
Yeah, it happens though. And sometimes people don't realize they're in something, especially if they're new to boating. So
yeah,
it is what it is.
It's you gotta be careful out there.
Yep.
All right, so this is the last one I've got that I found. Again, I got a few basic questions. So guy's got a 250 show. How's he run it in the yard? Here, the Bob's hose adapter does not work. I don't know if you're familiar with the Bob's hose adapter. And then he's having a hard time finding a tub or a barrel to fit the motor to run it. So any suggestions for him?
Well, Yamaha actually makes their own water pickup for the shows. It works, but I have a tendency of having to, like, when I start the motor and have the water on there, I have to kind of go in there and hold it with my hand until it starts picking up, and then it'll pull it closed. You can run it on the flush attachment, very small amount if you have a lot of water pressure on your hose. Otherwise, I don't necessarily recommend using the flush attachment unless you got plenty of water pressure. But if you get the Yamaha version of it, it works pretty good as long as you know that you have to go down there and kind of cup it with your hand to get it started, and after that it'll flow just fine. So.
All right. Well, what did Tim have to say? Is he 150 hours?
He's a high. He fishes. That's his only hobby, he says.
All right. Well, good on you. I mean, the best way to get the most out of a boat is to use it.
Yeah.
So, well, that's all the questions I have got.
Which means he's probably got a lot more hours on that trolling motor he's talking about.
Yeah, that's a good point. So, it may not necessarily be calendar years of age of that trolling motor, but usage.
Yeah.
So, anything specific? We're rolling into spring. I thought was here, and then now it left us, and now it's coming back.
Yeah.
But yeah, I those questions I grabbed because I think those are going to be a lot of your hey, let's get the boat ready for this season type of questions. Any other things?
I would say don't let gas prices scare you. Just fish more and run less.
Yeah. Use that trolling motor more. So in which case we can talk about lithium battery options to keep you on the water longer.
Right.
Yeah. Well, guys, I guess that's going to do it for us this week. If y'all don't have any more questions for us, we're gonna jump off and get back to work. So I'll see if we got questions that come in later. Then we'll hold them for next week. But yeah, if you need anything, if you're needing to get your boat ready, I would always encourage you sooner rather than later. Give us a shout, get on the calendar, because well, we got a lot of boats in the yard that are coming in for service. So
Yep.
I think we're about to hit that time where everybody's going to go, oh yeah, I need service, and then all of a sudden they're going to get a billion phone calls
That's
down
right.
there, and they're going to do the best they can, but there's only so many hands down there.
That's right.
So give us a call now and get yourself scheduled in. But Timmy, so maybe bring that boat by for that trolling motor like this week and have somebody take a quick look at it or something.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. All right. Well, you got anything else? We're going to get out of here. Again, check out the videos, the live, the seminars from from Fish Fest if you're into the fishing thing. New service department.
What he meant was best.
Best, yes. Not the newest, for sure. But we appreciate you, Timmy. Thank you, sir, for hanging in. Thank for all you guys for watching. And we will catch you next week.